Today we're finally putting the top on this massive overhead sump filter. But instead of just cutting a couple big pieces of plywood and calling it done, I want to build something a little different. I'm going to take some of the leftover plywood from this project, cut it down into narrow sections, and then piece everything together to build the lids almost like a frame. And there's a reason I'm doing it this way. Right in the center of each lid, I'm going to install a clear glass viewing panel. That way, when this sump is running, I can look straight through the top and actually see what's happening inside the filter without having to open everything up. I found these clear replacement glass panels at Home Depot, and they're already cut to 16 by 20 inches, so I'm going to design the plywood lids around the glass instead of trying to make the glass fit the lid. If everything works the way I have it planned, these leftover pieces of plywood and a couple inexpensive sheets of glass are going to completely change the way the top of this sump looks. So let's start cutting. I'm starting with leftover plywood that I already have from building the sump filter. Instead of wasting another full sheet of plywood, I'm going to cut these leftover pieces into long, narrow strips. I'll make one cut at a time, check the dimensions, and slowly build the frame around the opening. This is one of the things I like about building projects like this yourself. Sometimes the material that looks like scrap at the end of one part of the project becomes exactly what you need for the next part. And because I'm putting glass in the center, I don't actually need a solid sheet of plywood for each lid. I mainly need enough material around the perimeter to create a strong frame that will support the glass. So I'm cutting these pieces down and then laying them out on top of the sump as I go. I'm not trying to make everything complicated. The idea is actually pretty simple. 4 plywood sections come together to create the outside structure, while the center remains open for the glass. And here's the glass I'm going to use. These are clear replacement glass panels that I picked up at Home Depot. They're 16 inches by 20 inches. At the time I'm making this video, Home Depot has them listed for about $10 each, so they're actually pretty inexpensive for what I'm trying to do. Now, these aren't custom aquarium lids. They're just regular clear replacement glass, and they're non-tempered, so I have to be careful handling them. Alright everyone, so enough said, let's get these lids made.
Sunrise on the water, gold up on the tide. Waves they keep on whispering, pulling at my mind. Palm trees swaying easy, dancing with the breeze. Every little moment here is set to put me at ease. Feel a rhythm in my chest now, every heartbeat like a drum. All the worries that I carry wash away one by one. On this coral drift, I'm floating free. Island in my soul is calling me. Riding on the baseline, sweet and deep. Rock me like the tide till I fall asleep. On this coral drift, I'm home tonight, where the sun-kissed ocean, golden light. Every little wave sing melody. Coral drift, setting my spirit free. Set my spirit free. Oh. Footsteps in the sand, we moving side to side, laughing with the moonlight pouring from the sky. Fire on the shoreline, sparks into the dark. Every little spark of love ignites a brand new star. Feel that rhythm in your chest now, let the good vibes carry on. All the trouble you've been holding fade away until it gone. On the spiral drift, we're floating free. Island in our hearts, it's harmony. Riding on the baseline, sweet and deep. Rock us like the tide till we fall asleep. On this coral drift, we're home tonight, where the stars paint cry out in the night. Sing a prayer upon the window tide. From the city to the shore, feel the change inside. When the reggae drum roll, all the pain subside. On this coral trip, we're floating free. Island in our hearts, it's harmony. Riding on a bass line, sweet and deep. Rock us like the tide till we fall asleep. On this coral drift, we're home tonight. Where the sun-kissed ocean, golden light. Every little wave sing melody. Coral drift, set our spirit free. Coral drift, carry me soft and slow upon the sea. Coral drift, carry we. Island heartbeat, set us free.
Now that I have all of these pieces cut and I'm happy with the way everything fits together, it's time to start joining them and turn these individual strips of plywood into one solid lid frame. I'm using wood glue along the mating edges, and I want to make sure I get a good, even layer across the entire joint. Once the two pieces come together, the important thing is keeping them tight and keeping everything aligned, while that glue has time to cure. Normally, this would be a perfect situation for a couple of long woodworking clamps. You could put one clamp on each side, tighten everything down, and just leave it there until the glue cures. But there's one little problem. I don't have clamps long enough for this. And that's something I think happens to a lot of people doing DIY projects at home. You see somebody building something online, and they have an entire workshop filled with every tool imaginable. They've got 20 clamps hanging on the wall, a giant table saw, a planer, a jointer, everything. I don't have all of that. So sometimes you just gotta look at what you have sitting around and figure out another way to get the job done. And that's where this Gorilla Tape comes in. I'm pulling the pieces together as tightly as I can, and then I'm stretching the tape across the joint and wrapping it down along both sides. The tape basically becomes my temporary clamp. It's not the Gorilla Tape that's permanently strengthening this wood joint. What I'm trying to do is use the tape to maintain pressure and keep these pieces from shifting while the wood glue cures. I'm doing it from both directions so that I'm pulling the pieces together evenly, and once everything is tight, I'll leave it alone and give the adhesive plenty of time to cure. For something like this sump lid, this method actually works really nicely, and I wanted to leave this part in the video because I know not everybody watching has a garage full of expensive woodworking tools. If you've only got a saw, some glue, a roll of strong tape, and a few basic tools, don't automatically think you can't build something. Sometimes you just have to improvise. Would clamps make this easier? Absolutely. Would I use them if I had the right size sitting here? Definitely. But I'm working with what I've got, and that's really been the story of this entire Plywood Aquarium project. A lot of this tank wasn't built with fancy equipment. It's been measuring, cutting, testing, making mistakes, changing the design, and finding simple solutions when something doesn't work exactly the way I expected. And this is another one of those simple solutions. Once the glue has fully cured, I can remove all of this tape, clean everything up, and these separate pieces should essentially behave like one complete wooden frame. Then we can move on to the part I'm really looking forward to, getting that clear glass panel fitted into the center and finally seeing what this lid is going to look like, sitting on top of the overhead sump filter. Right now, it still looks like a bunch of plywood strips taped together, but give that glue some time to cure. Okay, fast forward. After letting the glue cure for about 24 hours, I've already gone ahead and added fiberglass cloth and fiberglass resin to reinforce the sump filter lids. The fiberglass gives these plywood frames some additional strength and helps protect them from cracking or breaking as I'm opening, closing, and moving the lids around. And because these lids are going to be sitting directly above the sump filter, where they'll constantly be exposed to moisture, splashing, and condensation, the fiberglass resin also gives the plywood another layer of water resistance. Right now, I'm just cleaning everything up. I'm using 60 grit sandpaper to sand down the edges and remove all of the excess fiberglass cloth that hardened around the outside of the frames. You can actually see how easily those loose fiberglass strands start falling away from the edges as I'm sanding. that's exactly what I want. I'm not trying to completely reshape the lids here. I'm mainly knocking down the sharp fiberglass strands, smoothing the rough edges, and taking care of any high spots or areas that I may have missed when I applied the fiberglass. And definitely wear gloves and proper protection when you're working with fiberglass and sanding cured fiberglass resin. Those tiny fibers and the sanding dust are something you don't want on your skin or in your lungs. After sanding, these lids are starting to look much cleaner. They're not completely finished yet, but structurally, we've pretty much reached the end of this stage of the build, and I'm really happy with how they turned out. We started with leftover pieces of plywood cut, everything down into narrow strips, glued the pieces together, used Gorilla Tape as a temporary clamping method, added fiberglass cloth and resin. And now we've got 2 reinforced frames that will eventually become the finished glass viewing lids for this overhead sump filter. If you're new to the channel and you enjoy watching projects like this come together, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for more DIY projects. Your support really does help keep the channel going, and it helps me continue making more videos like this and sharing everything I learn along the way. So we're getting very close now. In the next video, we're going to take another big step towards finally completing this overhead sump filter. I'll finish waterproofing the sump and lids with Pond Shield, and then we'll start working on the filtration system plumbing. That's when this big plywood box finally starts turning into a working filtration system. We're almost there, so stay tuned everybody. I'll see you all back here very soon. Peace out.